Multi-tool, multi-story pest control. Roy's foxing at ground level, hitting the squirrels at tree height with ferals on the rooftops. Watch, don't listen. Sam Green is back with some top clay coaching tips.
Pull doesn't equal move the gun. Pull is basically just telling the trapper that you're ready, and then you only move when you see the target.
Plus the Capercaillie car crash. The RSPB bungles another multi-million-pound conservation programme. We have news with the latest on the UK lockdown and hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. Roy likes getting his money's worth, and this morning he's keeping his options open. It would have been a fallow first thing if it weren't for an off-piste jogger, so instead it's frosty foxes.
The light is coming up now and it should be beautiful for a bit of fox calling. We've got a fantastic frost, it's finally dry, it's frosty, and it is just absolutely perfect. It's screaming out for having a bit of a call on the foxes. And just to make sure that it does go properly, then we're going to be wrapping David in so many layers of camouflage, because unfortunately the meerkat normally does give it away. So hopefully today we're going to cover up the old badger stripes and they won't see him, but we shall see. Let's go find a fox.
You may notice that Roy's Lycoscope looks populated. As well as the Aimpoint Acro, we've added a Tacticam. It's the first time we've used one in anger. David recently stole it from Neil Rowntree. It's a rapid response.
That was nice and quick. I mean, literally just started calling, and I just saw the fox appear just to the right of the brambles and just came trotting in like that. It wasn't, I mean, it didn't come steaming in, but again, it's so good having the aim point on as well, because all I needed to do was just sit and I could watch the fox coming in and just keep an eye holding the dot on the fox as it came in.
He was looking at me.
I know he was looking at you. They always look at you, David. That's why I shot him then. He was just like...
Don't look at me, look at me.
No, even though I was calling, and again, this is one of the imperative things, it is all about movement, and David never, in the 11 years of working with David, he's not realised that movement is the key to all of this. I've got to focus, all of us. No, so David was tucked in the bushes, and even though he was tucked in the bushes away from where the sound was coming from, the fox immediately clocked him, and you could see that the fox came forward, and it was just locked onto him. It wasn't going to stay for much longer there. So luckily, David, I think, managed to get it in focus. So, did you?
Yeah.
I hope so.
David may have got it in focus, but Roy didn't on the Tacticam. Never mind, let's hope there will be other opportunities.
Stunning little dog fox there, and just with the frost on the ground, it just gives them a little bit of an edge to their appetite, because obviously this time of year food is starting to get harder to come by. If this was left naturally, then the foxes would find a natural balance. But unfortunately, in the majority of the UK, that's never ever going to happen. Foxes are always supported by the urban situations where people are feeding them, or where they're able to raid bins and get food, and obviously they survive by picking up roadkill as well. So through the leaner times, when naturally the foxes would have died off, and they would have also been picked off, by other predators, that's not happening. That doesn't happen. So then you find an overpopulation, then come the nesting periods, etc. Everything just gets hammered. So again, this is why we do need to make sure that we control the numbers and we keep a cap on them.
The next foxing stand looks promising and has delivered for us in the past. This time Roy calls in a beagle and a Labrador. The next call is interrupted by a family, once again way off the footpath. Roy, like many of us in the countryside, is cheesed off with this imaginary right to roam.
I understand that people want to enjoy the wildlife, people want to enjoy the countryside, but if people are going to come out into the countryside more and people are going to enjoy the countryside more, then people need to start understanding that those areas are not there for them to go trundling through with a pack of dogs. those areas are left for management purposes and they're there for the benefit of wildlife as well. And if they are continually going through these areas, then it's leaving very, very little habitat left where animals can be left in peace and undisturbed. Yeah, I can see his head. You can see his head up there?
Time to ditch the Sako centrefire for a 2.2 FAC Brocock air rifle.
Just up behind Charlie. We've just got the first one in the bag there, and on our way back to the car we'll see if we can pick up another one or two hopefully. But again, excellent fun. Grey squirrels just do so well. They're always absolutely smothered in fat. That's a little boy, so now we need to try and find some females, because obviously if you can start eradicating the females, that is how you reduce the populations. That was the exit wound there, just spinning round. He was quartering away on the branch, so we came in through there. Could have done with being about an inch further that way, but it did the job.
We know this wood is full of squirrels, it's just whether they will stop long enough for Roy to take a shot. Charlie helps with the thermal spotter. When checking for a heat signature around the other side of a trunk, he disturbs a small group of fallow. Roy quickly swaps back to the Sako. There's no backstop, and eventually they're away.
We just had a little group of fallow erupt out of the brambles in front of Charlie. And again, that just goes to highlight exactly what I was talking about earlier, that the deer here now are so under pressure because everybody's moving them in the local area. This is about the only spot of wood that is obviously giving a little bit of quiet and downtime. And they were all just couched up in that corner there. And interestingly, we had been making a fair amount of noise and they were still holding tight. So it's, yeah, they're obviously just seeking any shelter that they can away from everybody. But, right, let's go and see if we can find some more squizzers.
Our last chance before heading back to the truck is a squirrel stuck fast to the trunk.
No. No.
Charlie thinks he can take the shot from his position.
Got it. Well done.
We were just looking round for it, and Charlie, where he was, said he had a clear shot, so he managed to take a very nice shot there. Well done, mate. Superb. Next time. Why is everybody so nervous about squirrels?
Squirrel bites scare me.
What we got?
The pellet has travelled right through the body.
A little doe. He's gone in here to go through the vital organs there, and the pellet has ended up going through, coming out on top of the head, so through the skull, and it's just here. So we'll just open that up.
We haven't done dissections for ages.
And it'll be just quite interesting just to see how much damage has been done to both the skull and the pellet. So there we go, there's the pellet there. So obviously it's quite a chunky pellet there. I think it's a 20, just over a 25 grain pellet, so it's a bit of a chunk of lead going up, but that's obviously done the job beautifully.
Just before packing up, the estate manager asks if Roy can remove some of the ferals making a mess around the buildings.
We've got a couple of feral pigeons that have been getting into the loft there, so it would be incredibly rude not to make the most of it.
He manages two before the others take the hint. It's been a busy, multidiscipline, multi-species morning. It would have been a lot more fruitful if more people in the countryside actually knew how to behave in the countryside. For more information about the Aimpoint Acro, go to aimpoint.com, and for more on the Brocock Commander XR, go to brocock.co.uk. Thank you, Roy and Charlie. Now from sharpshooting to a dull blade, it's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. The government's new coronavirus lockdown has stopped game shooting in the UK for the rest of the season. As with every set of new rules, there's confusion until the civil servants make up their minds what the rules mean. Under the old Tier 4 rules in England, you could only travel locally and only shoot with members of your household, so game shooting is effectively banned, leaving thousands of birds for shoots to look after. You could still do pest control such as pigeon shooting, deer management and gamekeeping. The new lockdown rules look the same.
The thing we are advising members is that take a copy of your permission letter with you, as well as a sort of an in-writing letter request from the landowner to undertake that control, because if you are challenged by your authorities, it will just give you a little bit more sway to say that you are leaving home for an essential reason.
ITV News is mounting a sustained attack on trail hunting, insisting it's fox hunting. The TV News network claims that a security camera video catches hounds chasing and eating a fox at an industrial estate in Buckinghamshire in mid-December. ITV says the police are investigating. The Kimblewick hunt told ITV News the fox was killed accidentally and their hounds were following a trail when some deviated off the scent. ITV admits their exclusive is a non-story by saying the hunt organisers stopped the hounds as soon as they realised they were not following the trail. SABs have exposed farmers they claim are involved with trail hunting. A member of the Mendip Farmers Hunt accidentally lost a device that listed all its members, according to the Anti's Innocent Badger website. In an effort to make trail hunting look illegal, the website claims that MP Jacob Rees-Mogg and some of his relatives are listed as hunt supporters. The last time Innocent Badger exposed the private information of people, its website was shut down and it was forced to move to Iceland. Who says Antis can't get into the festive spirit? The answer is lots of people, especially the owners of the Brighton Sausage Company, which vegan vandals targeted and celebrated on the Unoffensive Animal website. The culprits claim the shop is on Santa's naughty list because it sells meat. 2 weeks ago, we featured a magazine produced by Unoffensive Animal and its supporters called Wildfire that encourages vegans to commit similar crimes. We have forwarded information about its creators to the police in South Yorkshire, where the magazine is printed and distributed. Chris Packham is trying to stop farmers in Scotland killing beavers. Packham's Wild Justice lobby group has donated £5,000 to a group challenging Nature Scot, Scotland's nature agency, over licences allowing landowners to cull beavers. Farmers say beavers undermine riverbanks and damage crops. Salmon fishermen on the River Tay in Perthshire took these photos of the damage beavers are doing there to trees, some of which are over 100 years old. Nature Scot restricted beaver shooting in 2020 and has now authorised the killing of 87 of the animals. Police were called in after a man was killed by a stag in County Cork. Ger Withers, a huntsman with the De Hallow hunt, was said to be feeding his pet stag in his kennels when it attacked and killed him. The 45-year-old father of 3 died on the scene. Friend Catherine Power said he was a wonderful person who will be sorely missed. Police are investigating after a hound from a hunt in Derbyshire killed a cat. Owner Rebecca Bingham says her cat Spider was grabbed by one of the hounds from her garden. The dogs were not hunting at the time but being exercised. The High Peak Hunt spokesman told the BBC the hunt apologised to the owner and it will review its walking procedures. Derbyshire Police says it's making inquiries. The RSPB is complaining about a government decision to allow a wind farm to be built in the North Sea. The giant Hornsey 3 development is 75 miles from the Yorkshire coast and close to a big seabird colony. The RSPB says kittiwakes will need to dodge the turbines to reach feeding grounds, though apparently it's not a problem for moorland birds. The RSPB's own research claims that turbines have no evidence for sustained declines or altered distribution of at least 2 bird moorland species. Hornsey 3 developers say they will build 4 nesting towers for the kittiwakes. The government is mulling a parakeet cull. Considered the grey squirrels of the sky, parakeets are Britain's fastest spreading bird species, with a population booming 15-fold between 1995 and 2015. DEFRA is now considering culling large numbers of ringneck parakeets after experts warn the bird pose an urgent economic, society and environmental problem. The wild parrots compete against native birds and cause damage to orchards. Ringneck parakeets are on the general licences in England. The RSPB opposes the cull. The Christmas season saw a series of attacks on sheep by dogs. A husky was spotted attacking a sheep in a village north of Newport in South Wales, and several sheep were mauled by dogs in the Brighton area, where 3 attacks were reported in 2 days. all blamed on people walking their dogs and letting the animals off their lead. Police are investigating. Thanks to Liz Bowring for the story. A farm in Kosovo has been devastated by a wolf attack. This shocking video shows a field with 90 dead sheep at the farm in Jane-Jevor in the east of the country. Wolves have been reintroduced across Europe as part of rewilding programmes, and hunting them is banned in most countries. And finally, a newspaper agony aunt has been advising a reader about her obsession with Mr. Chris Packham. The alleged letter to the Sun's Dear Deirdre section is from a woman claiming she has fantasies about the wildlife celebrity and pretends she's married to him. The fixation is so bad, it's affecting her sex life with her real partner, she insists, adding that she bought a framed photo of Packham that she keeps hidden. Probably not this one. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. And just a word to thank the Fieldsports Nation for stumping up for the news stump. We have a lot of you to welcome this week who signed up over Christmas and the New Year in no particular order. Kev Edwards, Jack Armstrong, Voitu Hakkanen from Finland, Jordan Sarabji, Ian Bunn, Mark Furman, John McDarren, Paul Gill, Joe Mason, Cavan McAlinden and Martin Pearmain, who joined on the website, Mickey Philp, Tim Roche, Danny Walter, Patrick Demir, Jake Shepherd, Toby Rowe, Tim Blackman, Dean Hart, Scott Boyle and Stephen Simpson, who join on YouTube. John Gillespie from New Zealand, Matthew Davis and Daniel Dixon, who join on Patreon, and Damien Christie, who joins on Facebook. If you want to join them and join us, quickest way is to go to fieldsportschannel.tv/offer, link in the description below. They are the ones who pay for our news coverage. Next up, Sam Green has another top clay shooting tip.
Perfect.
Today, Sam is working through a teal target. He's got a chance to look at Phil's and Will's techniques. Sam thinks Phil should lower his hold point to see more of the target. However, young shot Will is moving too fast, reacting to the sound of the trap, not the movement of the clay.
You're moving quite a lot on the sound of the trap, and you're moving when you say pull. So by doing that, if you've got a crossing target and you start to say pull and you start to move, the target's here. Now you have to slow that swing down to let the target actually catch up, and then you're not matching it. So pull doesn't equal move the gun. Pull is basically just telling the trapper that you're ready, and then you only move when you see the target.
Is that something you see? Not with just
Yeah, you see it quite a bit. If you're doing that, if you're moving before you see the target, your reactions are not working with you. They're working against you. You're too far in front of the target. You've already started going. So we actually want to wait until we see the target and move with the target, and then your reactions go and flow with the target. So here we've got a target that's rising and crossing. So we'll have a look at it. Pull. So it comes up and crosses, okay? So by moving the gun too quick, if we're going to shoot the target here and we come back to our hold point, if I say we're not going to press it just yet, but if I said pull and the target comes out, okay, and I start to move, then I've got this big gap here where the clay and the barrel are. I've got two choices now. I've got to slow the swing down to let the clay catch up, or I've got to basically stop, let the clay catch up and go again. And then my swing's not matching the target. The same as if I hold here and I said pull and I start to go back, then basically the clay's going this way, my barrels are going that way, they do a cross, and then I've got to go faster now to catch the clay back up. So by holding here and then saying pull and I go back, the clay beats me and then I've got to go again. Or I hold here and I say pull and I've got this big gap because I've already moved and I have to slow down and I'm not catching the target up. So once you've got it in your head what lead, a picture that you actually want of that target, you go to your kill point, rewind the shot, stop, let the clay come up to the picture of the gun. So pull, it comes up, hits the picture, and now I move with the target and I'm actually moving with the speed of the target.
Thank you, Sam. And if you want to know more about Sam's Browning shotgun, a 525 Ultra XS Pro, which he uses for just about all of his shooting, he talks us through it on Field Tester, link in the description below. Right, Capercaillie, they're big, they're beautiful, and they are on the brink in this country. So who should be bringing them back? Gamekeepers or bird watchers?
This is a Capercaillie. Most people won't have seen one because there are not many left in the UK, possibly as few as 1,100. That's despite millions of pounds given over the decades to the RSPB based on promises it would save them.
It's extraordinary to me that an organisation like the RSPB gets so much money on the basis that it will save things, but it hasn't got the skill to do it.
RSPB has taken Ian Coghill round Abernethy Nature Reserve in the Cairngorms a couple of times, during which he questioned their ideas about pest control, including stopping killing foxes for 3 years in the 1990s, just to see what effect it would have on the Capercaillie population.
The RSPB do quite a lot of what you might call suck and see research to try and find a way of getting around the idea that you have to kill things to stop, say, stoats or foxes, to prevent them from killing other things.
Another problem came with deer fences designed to block them entering the forest, but Capercaillies, which fly at speed, kept dying after crashing into them.
The discussion I had with them when I was there was, well, if it's a good idea to kill all the deer, to create some trees for a Capercaillie to nest at the bottom of in 40 or 50 years' time, why is it a bad idea to kill a fox to stop it eating the Capercaillie that's at the bottom of a tree already? And we didn't go very much further with that. Money's not what's needed. What's needed is a thorough understanding of what's going on. And if it does need proper predator control, then it needs people that can do it properly.
Gary Doolan from Basque thinks the money would be better spent elsewhere.
We'd give it to the gamekeepers, we'd give it to the shoot managers, the people who we would argue are out in the field day to day, feet on the ground, doing the hard miles. They're the people who intrinsically know what's best for the land that they manage, and they do it in harmony with other people, other organisations, with the best interests of the land that they manage.
The tragedy is that the skills that are necessary to save these things already exist. If the RSPB and other players in the field actually were prepared to sit down and talk sensibly to the sensible elements in the shooting community, which they are not, then you could do a lot more with the money you've got.
These are people in some cases who've worked the same sorts of areas of land for many decades. They see the sort of the balance of the seasons. They see the seasons come and go. Yes, science plays a role, but I think it'd be extremely naive to ignore experience and ignore the years of wisdom that brings.
The RSPB has been involved in Capercaillie conservation ever since the population started its most recent decline, crashing from more than 2,000 in the early 1990s to around half that today. Started in 2018, the Cairngorms Capercaillie project, run by RSPB and the Cairngorms National Park Authority, is the latest attempt. This year it hired local gamekeepers to help, a sign, however grudging, that the RSPB recognises their skills. None of the gamekeepers was willing to talk to us for this video. At the same time, the Heritage Lottery Fund gave the project another £2 million. Some residents of nearby Carbridge told Scottish media they are unhappy with the project getting more funding, especially during coronavirus lockdowns, when the money could have been spent on the community. At the same time, RSPB continues its campaign of blaming gamekeepers for killing raptors.
Hen harriers, for example, have clearly been weaponised. Other birds have been treated in a similar fashion, maybe not quite so successfully with the mainstream media. So I think that the shooting community might not necessarily have a particular passion for a particular bird, but in the wider scheme of things, we want that wider biodiversity. And one of the beneficial sort of effects, if you like, of managing the land for shooting is that some of these other species thrive, and whether that's in the uplands or the lowlands, the evidence is there for that.
When you turn what was a more open landscape into a more wooded landscape, which is what's happened at Abernethy, in the fond hope that in 50 years' time or 40 years' time, you're going to have some Capercaillie there. You do it in the full and certain knowledge you are getting rid of other birds. So you have made a decision management decision that you don't want curlew. And at Abernethy, they picked their version, the one they want, which they're entitled to do. But if they pick that one, they shouldn't criticise other people that decide to pick a different version, which in the case of what all the troubles about in Scotland at the moment is a heather moorland. They decide to turn that rare thing into something which is, from a global point of view, fairly common. Scots pine or conifer growing out across what used to be relatively shallow peat. There are probably millions of square miles of that.
Thank you, Ben. Now from the Cairngorms to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, it is Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Rough Shooting Ireland is out on the 1st of January 2021, shooting woodcock and pheasant. 2 dogs flush 23 woodcock in 2 different spots. Our buddy Sergio Couto, known on YouTube as Sir Coot Wild Harvest, opens 2021 with this sim day filmed last year. They shoot pigeons in Pakistan. Here is Adam Mayo and friend Mohsin Javad enjoying pest control. Looks like a hot summer in Cambridgeshire. A little bit of chat from the Pest Above the Rest channel, which recently joined the Fieldsports Nation as a supporter. It's Tim's update on what he plans for the channel in 2021. Point of Impact TV is coming back to YouTube this year, which is good news. Here is a reminder of what he does from 2019. Long-range rabbits with rimfire. OK Sahin is wild boar hunting in Turkey. Pigs may be haram in Turkey, but these Turkish boar channels get huge numbers of viewers. Thanks to Swedish viewer Henrik Gustafsson, who writes, if you want a little insight into traditional roe hunting with dogs in Sweden, take a look at this. It's from the FITASC channel, and some Swedish will help. And finally, more from the Nordics. Finnish riflemaker Sako celebrates its 100th birthday in 2021. Here is a film to celebrate. Happy birthday, Sako. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, and of course pop your email address into our register page, and we'll contact you about the show. Fieldsports Britain at 7 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Fieldsports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.